So hello everybody. Yeah. Hello everybody from Vienna. I'm very glad we meet again. I think our last session was 1 month ago, and I'm very grateful and very happy to welcome today Slaven Stekovic. I was introducing him already in our WhatsApp group. And first of all, good afternoon, Slaven. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much.
I met Slaven when he was in my radio show in February because he was writing a best-selling book about living longer, the longevity, and there we met, and we also got like friends, and I was very impressed at that time already about his biography, and we will start having a short talk about it. Slaven has many professions. Actually, he's a scientist. He was studying biochemistry and molecular biology. I had to look up many words. I had to ask my Alexa at home. I have this translation tool. And he was doing business studies in Great Britain, and he was writing 3 books. All 3 of them are best-selling books. And he is an entrepreneur, and he is a dear friend of mine. The latter is the most important for me. And I would like to start with you finding your vocation, Slaven, because also we discussed it in my radio show. Actually, you wanted to become a musician, but your mother was against it. And so then you decided to study science. So it is a big jump from being interested in music, then going into science. What made you choose this direction in life?
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for remembering that. I mean, it's not as much as my mom was against it, as much she was against me studying music, because music is something you do, not something you study, according to her. God bless her. And since I really wanted to study, I wanted to go for medicine, because my mom's a physician, so I was influenced from a very young age, reading her medical books as a kid, looking at the images, trying to figure out what does that mean, all this stuff about medicine and helping humans. I wanted to study medicine myself. And then after the conversations, very open conversations with my mom and her friends, I found out that being a doctor, being a physician, being a medical doctor actually means working with people. It's more psychology than medicine. And when I heard about all the stories that happen when you work as a physician in a hospital, it sounded like something I wouldn't enjoy, because I was more interested into how human body worked rather than the human aspect of it. I know it sounds bad, I know it sounds weird, but that was just me. I wanted to take things apart and understand them. And luckily, one of my friends who was a physician as well, she mentioned this one thing, molecular biology, that I never heard of, 16-year-old me, back in the days. And I was quite curious about what molecular biology is. And then she explained to me that there's these things called genes, and they tell you what color of the eyes you will have, and if you'll get this diseases or those diseases. And that sounded really interesting, something you cannot see, but something that dictates how our biology, how our body works over time. So out of interest, I started studying molecular biology with the nice upside that I wouldn't have to work with humans who I didn't like at that time. And I preferred animals to humans back in the days. And yeah, that's how it all started. And the more I dug into it, the more my secret plan was actually to become a musician while studying molecular biology. Didn't turn out that way. I've started understanding that the science, molecular biology, but also other sciences, if you really work as a scientist, really mean that everything you've learned, you need to forget and try again to understand it, because human understanding of how things work, how nature operates, is very limited. And the big blessing is that you can always try to do new things, to discover in a new way how things operate, and always understand a little bit of a puzzle, a little bit more than you understood before. And that's what kept me going.
Mm. You were born in Bosnia-Herzegovina, it's south of Austria, in another country, and then you decided to come to Austria at the age of 18 and to study there. So we have so many people here who are most of them made the decision of which college to attend. But why did you decide to go abroad for your studies?
The place that I lived in, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the city I grew up in, Banja Luka, were not very comforting for people who are not very accommodating for people who think differently, people who want to explore and want to break out of the beaten path, out of the rules set by professions and societies. And after being exposed a little bit to a rather open society in Germany when I did my exchange year during school, I knew I wanted to get out of it. I wanted to find, so to say, a fertile soil, a place that allows for exploration, allows for openness, allows for young people actually having a chance to change something. That's what motivated me to come to Austria, and yeah, I've been happy ever since.
Mhm. And I think this part of your life is also very interesting for everybody here, because most of the people here would like to learn German because they also want to come to Austria or Germany. And you decided when you were 17 to go for 1 year of school to go to Germany. And for me, it's still amazing that you didn't know any German and you came there and you started in school. And your German now, as everybody who is talking to you in German, is of course now perfect. But even then, when you were 17, I think you learned very fast. How did you make it?
That's the musical part. I think because I spent a lot of time playing my guitar and I enjoyed music so much, my ears are used to hearing noises and repeating them. And language is nothing else but noise in a controlled fashion. So there is that part. The other part is practice. I mean, I was surrounded by people speaking German when I was 16, 17 years old, when I was in Germany. And just being forced to use the language, being surrounded by it, helped immensely to get the J curve, to speed up the learning. It's basically using the language. For everyone who is considering learning German, consider it please again, because there's simpler languages to learn.
Actually, Eva is the head of a German learning Zoom group here of many people here in this group. You are meeting each other, I think, every Tuesday, Eva? I think you muted still your
We are meeting
microphone.
once a week,
Once a
every
week.
Tuesday. Yeah.
How many people are joining in?
It depends. More or less 10 to 12 people are joining in.
So Slaven, what is your advice for this? You have like a small tip for these 12 people. I also had in my radio show many who were just telling me, for instance, they just watch the TV all the time in German or listen to podcasts. Or what did help you a part of being surrounded of German-speaking people?
Watching TV, definitely, especially watching TV shows that I've seen before in other languages, mostly in English, watching them in German, especially with subtitles, so you can actually connect what's being said with a subtitle in a different language that you understand. I listen to, because many things in my life revolve around music, I also listen to German bands. It wasn't that easy to find German music that I like, but here and there you'll find something good as well. German music has and Austrian has a very peculiar sound. It's not for everyone's ears. And I think that's pretty much it. Like when I look at, for example, my brother who also speaks German, and when I look at myself, we had a different way of learning the language, and the difference was each of us actually selected the tools that were more speaking to our emotional selves, things that we actually like to do, and implementing German into those things rather than forcing ourselves to do things that everyone else says that they work, but that are not generally easy things and enjoyable things for us to do.
This is a very good advice, I think, that you need your emotions. So if you're really attracted to something like listening to music or listening or watching series, then doing it in the foreign language, it's you like it, so you will do it more often.
Yeah,
I think this it is. We were attending a concert last week with of an Austrian band, and Slaven told me that the Austrian dialect is not easy to understand sometimes when you have some songs and listen to them, even for you.
yeah.
But for me, it's so amazing that after 1 year of learning German at the age of 17 in Germany, you started with studies of molecular biology in Austria. So was your language already at the level to really go into this very difficult topic?
Yes, it was. It was.
You're a genius.
You're very kind.
But you could cope with that, and you started with this in Graz, so there was no problem in the beginning.
I mean, there's always a little bit of issues, like the vocabulary of the studies. Like an 18-year-old doesn't know what mitochondria is and what nucleus is and all these kind of things. So regardless of the language, I would have had to learn the specific vocabulary of my profession anyways. But the simple things like what is that tree called and what's the name of that bird, those things I don't know until this day, because those are the things you learn as a kid. I don't see many adults running around and asking someone like, but using the language, talking to colleagues actually helped a lot during those days. It was a little bit of an obstacle, but when you have to use the language, it becomes much easier. And the beauty of German language as well is, especially for people who are gifted with analytical thinking, because it's very logical. It has a lot of rules, but once you know the rules, it's actually easy to follow them. It becomes rather an enabler than a disabler of using the language. Because of its logics, it becomes very easy to express oneself and to describe things very precisely, as is also the nature of the people speaking the German language.
And how could you maintain your fascination for your studies? I think this is very often you start with something. We have many people here who started business or commerce or whatever. And after 1 year, for instance, Samrat, who was speaking before, you were starting with biochemistry, like Slaven, and then you stopped after 1 year, and you said you had problems when you were doing in the Labor, wie sagt man, you were doing all the tests and you were shaking and your hands were not stable, and you found out you are not really good in that. So you changed then to pharmacy. So was it for you, Slaven, all the time, was the full passion, or did you also had your lows doing this?
I had the lows, as you always have. And I mean, we'll touch that topic, or actually we'll go into that topic a little bit later.
Okay.
But I think the what got me out of it, what helped, is understanding that the ultimate goal is not the thing that I'm doing right now, but something that I will reach once I completed this stage. So I did have to learn and do things that I didn't really like, but if that one thing that I don't like is preventing me from doing what I really want to do and what I really like, then I'll do the thing that I don't like, just to get it out of the way, like eat the vegetables first and then eat the other
hamburger.
Yeah. Exactly.
You
So
you made your PhD at the age of 27. So I think you were very fast in studying. Was it like just being ambitious, or why? What drove you there?
It was the ambition, definitely, but also I've I've found a topic that I was really interested in, and I think that helped a lot. There was just a natural match between molecular biology and this abstract thinking that you need to understand. Everything we learn is interpretation of different numbers, of different measurements, because you cannot really see the cell, you cannot really see a chemical reaction. You can see a change of color in a vial, but that change of color is sometimes this reaction, sometimes that reaction, and interpreting all these results needs your brain to actually think differently to interpret things. I enjoy tinkering. I enjoy spending time in my head, and that's why I assume also there was a good match between what I studied and who I am as a person. So I always say, like, if I studied architecture, I probably wouldn't, although I love architecture, I would probably suck at it because there's absolutely no match between architecture and who I am. I cannot draw a straight line. I've tried for 35 years and I can still draw a straight line. So yeah, I think it's important to actually take it as it is and understand that failure is a part of the game. You'll always make errors and it's fine. No one's asking you for perfection, or no one should ask you for perfection. And in a couple of years' time, it won't really matter. It's important to actually get through it, take what's needed, and also give as much as you need to give to people and things in order to reach your goal.
And then after having your PhD in biochemistry, you studied again. You started with your second studies. You went to Great Britain and you did your MBA in Cambridge. It's an elite university. So why did you continue? Some other people would say now I go into job life and finally I'm earning my own money, but continued.
Yeah, I mean, throughout my PhD, I started my first company already. So I had some issues with my business partners, and I thought that me, stupid scientist, I'm not suited for business, and I should study business because I was raised in a fashion that solution to everything is learning and studying. So I studied business only to learn that I don't need to study business in order to. I already knew it, or at least the mathematics of finance are as complicated or as simple as the mathematics of biochemistry are, and then it's the same logic behind it. You just need to dig deeper into it, and you'll understand it. But for me, it was a way to create a little bit of space and time for myself to figure out what I really want to do with my life. I already had a PhD, so doing another PhD didn't really add value, so I went for an MBA. I also wanted to go to Cambridge and see how the world looks there. What is it like? When you deal with science, that's one of the few places on this planet that everyone admires and everyone wants to know how it operates, what are the rules, what is the way people think. And I remember going there for the interview to get a spot in the class, and just walking around the place, you're in a Harry Potter movie, and at least for my generation, that was one of the big things that it educated us and created who we are today.
And you told me once, and I was also listening to our radio show just 1 hour ago, and there you told me about this interview, because getting into Cambridge means that you have to pass an interview. Is this the only you only have to pass the interview and then you can get into it, or do you have to pass an exam too, or what are the
There are 2 exams that you have to do in advance. You also have to send them your CV. They look at what you've done so far, what kind of experience you have, and then the interview and a couple of exercises that they do with you at the spot. You go to a dinner where they observe you how you behave in social environment, at least for the MBA. That's all part of the selection procedure.
And what did they ask at the interview? Because in this group, we also practice for job interviews. It's a little bit different, but also getting into a very reputed university, you also have specific questions, I think you had to answer. So what were the questions?
Some of the questions are very similar actually to a job interview. You'll be asked about your motivation to do the MBA. Like someone will ask you, why do you want to work at this position, this company? They'll ask you about your previous experiences, what you learned, what you've done in various positions, what were the obstacles on the way. They would also, in Cambridge, because they're very big on ethics, they were also asking about our worldview. How do we see fairness? How do we see ethical behavior and principles? What is the whole reasoning behind economics, business, and all these things? And they were also trying to understand, what is the goal? Why am I not just why am I in the room, and why do I want to study it now, but what kind of effect am I expecting of it in the future? So where do I see my life, my profession, my career going after I've completed that step? So trying to bring you into the future, to capture your vision and to showcase it. So those were the main questions that they would ask.
The vision you told them, did you live it then? Did this come into reality then? Was it the same that you experienced?
I've never thought about it. I think if I'm very generous about the interpretation of my vision, yes, I achieved it, because I did get smarter over the last 5 years. So I would also interpret the vision a little bit differently. But yes, it actually fulfilled the purpose.
And you told me once in our interview, I think you were telling this in the beginning, that a big part of learning means to forget things. And it's somehow, you think it's a contradiction, because I thought you try to accumulate what you learned and your knowledge gets more and more. Why do you have to forget things?
So on the biological process, I'm not a psychologist, so I cannot dig too deep into this topic, but on the biological perspective, there is only a particular capacity and of the cells to connect to each other and talk and create memories, I would assume. But that's not my field of expertise, so I will stop there. Where that learning came from, at least for me, was actually my brother, who is a computer scientist, and he's teaching robots how to learn. So he's trying to teach machines the human learning behavior. So he's an expert in machine learning. And in one of his experiments, he was teaching the robot to navigate itself through a complex corridor at the university. So in the middle of the night, when there were no students, he would sit there drinking his beer and watching his robot run through the hallways, go into the rooms, go into the toilets, hit the plants and create mess and all these kind of things. And he was writing code, teaching the robot how to learn without a human telling it, you did it correctly, or you did it the wrong way. And he was trying to reward the robot for doing the right things, as we would do with kids. Like you give a kid candy if they've done something correctly, you tell them that they've been good. But only giving rewards wasn't really helpful. So then he started punishing the robot also for doing mistakes. And when he started punishing the robot for doing mistakes, what robot learned is that if I keep doing new things, I might make a mistake. So I better not do anything new. So at some point, robot learned that pretty much everything but standing at one place was something new, because every step into the unknown might result in a punishment. And at that point, robot just decided to stay still and not do anything. So it just stayed at the same spot all night. And that's where my brother understood that actually he needs to implement forgetting the punishments, forgetting the rewards in order to get the exploratory behavior out of the robot. I mean, I've read articles about similar behaviors in bees. I've read we've seen similar behaviors also in humans, and in my own life, I've seen changing the society I live in, moving from Bosnia and Herzegovina to Austria, that the rules I've remembered, the rules I've learned as a kid and a teenager living where I grew up do not apply anymore in the society I'm living in right now. So there's a change of rules, and in order for me to adapt and be functional adult here, I had to forget some things, or at least relearn them in order to get to my own optimum, so to say.
After you made your MBA, you also founded some companies, and you did also while you were studying, I think a company in London for research. So what would you say was the most important decision for your career? Now we had all these steps starting in Austria, England, starting in business life, being an author. What was the most important decision?
The child in me would say not making music my profession, because I'm not sure if I would be able to emotionally deal with failure in music as much as I'm able to deal with failure in science, which is a learned love, but still a little bit further from my heart. So creating that emotional distance from things and thereby losing the fear of failure. But if I look at it, it all comes back actually to this loss of fear. No, not being always tied to the ultimate outcome, to the result as the ultimate goal, but actually the process. Looking at things as something that is continuous, that's a variable rather than a constant, and thereby you need to be involved and see it as a game rather than see it as a tool to achieve something.
Or being flexible also, and if something doesn't work out, then go to the second plan B.
Okay.
As far as you told me, you're also a kind of mathematics person in daily life. You do a tracking of your exercise and what you eat and what you drink. Is this important, would you say, to have some lists and to really check yourself to have a healthy lifestyle?
Only if you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, don't do that to yourself. It's just going to stress you out. I am a numbers person. I like analyzing things. I like data. So it's sort of a fun exercise for me to understand what's happening. It plays with my own nature. But I know people as well who are not like that and who only get stressed out because they're wearing something on their wrist that tells them that they didn't do the 10,000 steps today. And then they're very, very stressed today, and then they cannot sleep. And tomorrow they're in a bad mood, and then they again don't reach the 10,000 steps, and so on and so on. So I think it's more about, and that's also what research shows, it's more about your personality, about how you deal with numbers, how you deal with data. And I think everyone needs some sort of a goal, some sort of a direction. And it is absolutely fine that goal and the direction change over time, because on the journey of life, you learn new things and you are supposed to become smarter every day, or at least every year. So if you're becoming smarter, why follow the decisions and rules you set 5 years ago when you weren't as smart as you are today? Like, it's absolutely fine to change your plan. It's absolutely fine to change the direction you're going in, but make it out of conscious decision and out of consideration for yourself, but also for the others.
Mm-hmm. I have two more questions. So one, you are expert on living longer, the lifespan, extending your lifespan, and also the food is very important. we are here with many people who just get their food in their paying guest rooms, in their colleges, their messes. So you don't have so much choice. We know the Indian food having rice, curry, dal, the lentils, and the boiled egg. But if you give one advice, because most of them, they are having pocket money, they can go to the supermarket and buy a snack or something, to have more healthy food. What would you advise to buy?
I think one of the main rules when it comes to the healthy nutrition is the closer you are to the actual raw material, the actual plant, the actual animal or whatever you are eating, the better it is. The moment this gets processed over and over and over again, it becomes unhealthier and unhealthier. So at least in the West, we had more or less an epidemic of ultra-processed foods, things that have been manipulated so many times. And I'm not talking about genetic manipulations. I'm talking just about the food industry. So how we deal with the production and stabilizing products so they can stay on the shelves for years, and what you add to these things, all that destroys the nutritional value of the food you're eating. And for me, a big change, luckily, that happened very early on, was that I started cooking myself. So I started buying the vegetables, cutting them, washing them, and then preparing the food. Same goes with meat. I didn't go as far as to kill the animal myself, as I'm not that type of person, but still being closer to a product was to the actual raw material is what improved the quality of the food I was eating. It takes time, but it is something that compounds over time. If you're doing it over and over and over again, after years, you will actually see the difference. You will notice that your body is not aging as quickly, that you are not getting as sick as other people would get being on ultra-processed food. And there is a rationale, a sociological, economical rationale to processing foods, because we are trying to be efficient as a society. We're looking at everything as a function of money. But in this case, the question we should ask ourselves is really the money the only thing that we as a society and industry should look at when we're talking about food? Is it possibly health that we should try to optimize, fairness and generally the right balance between who we are as humans and the planet and other species here?
So better buying a mango in India than potato chips.
Yeah. And buy a potato in Austria, don't buy mangoes in Austria. We don't have that.
For Austria, different rules. And what about the sleep? Because also you said sleep, having a healthy sleep is very important for a healthy and a long life. So are there some rules you can tell us?
Sleep is a big thing. Sleep is being neglected very often. Because it's hard to sell sleep. So that's why companies don't really focus on it as much. But there are some that are now getting into this space as well. When it comes to sleep, there are very, very few people that can function properly on 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night. And those are rather exemptions that confirm the rule. They are not the rule. Most of the people, even the ones who believe they are good with 4 or 5 hours of sleep, actually need 7 to 8 hours every night. Women usually need a little bit more than men, which is caused mostly by the morphology of the skull. Women have a smaller skull, the same amount of brain in a smaller space, so it takes a little bit longer.
Not telling it's less.
Some would say even more brain, so I'm not getting into those discussions. But so there's a biological reasoning why this happens. And when you look at, for example, cats and dogs, they also have like animals that look like cats, animals that look like dogs. They have different structure of the skull, and you see the similar behavior. Why, for example, lions need so much more sleep because of the size of their jaw compared to the compartment where the brain is at. So the compression is the issue. But when it comes to the good, healthy sleep, it's important to ditch your phones, ditch the screens at least half an hour, ideally an hour before you go to sleep. So no blue lights before going to bed, if possible at all. Regulating the temperature in the room. So you should rather sleep in colder rooms, rather 18, 19, 20 degrees Celsius, not to warm rooms. The venting of the space, so basically having sufficient supply of oxygen while you are sleeping, is also an important. There's also a thing that we've been doing research on for the last 10, 15 years called circadian clock. It's basically how our bodies know when it's day and when it's night. And it's interesting to see that our body can actually sense the changes in the time of the day without even having the light in our eyes. So there is some synchronicity and that gets always calibrated by the light. So when we wake up, when we look at the light, at the sun, then suddenly our inner clock gets adjusted, but our body then remembers the adjustment and continues to operate. And our biology, our processes, our hormonal processes are actually tied to this, and they react. They operate in such a fashion that humans, as we should sleep during the night, not during the day. So basically following that, staying to the schedule, not disturbing your clock too much is an important thing. So if you're going to sleep at 11, 12, 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. Every day, then stick to it and do it. Don't do it 11 p.m. one day and then 3 a.m. the other day and disturb your biological rhythm by that. So that's an important thing. Food ideally should not be ingested 2 to 3 hours before going to sleep. So eating and then going to sleep is not the healthiest thing. Sometimes we cannot really avoid that, but it shouldn't be the rule. And in the evening, you shouldn't load up on simple carbs too much. So not that much. You should reduce your sugar intake in the evenings. That helps with the quality of sleep and helps you sleep better.
Thank you. So my last question, which leads also to your keynote here, is you told me you achieved lots of things very fast. So we were discussing this also when you were in my radio show. So you had your PhD at the age of 27, and then the MBA. Then you were nominated as a business magazine in Austria, Forbes magazine, and they always are selecting the 30 people, the most successful people, 30 people below 30. So you were one of those. And you are even now working for like the government. There's a brain pool, a think tank, and you are this young scientist there. And you told me that you had a kind of quarter life crisis. So quarter life, it was around 30, that, after having reached all these goals and being a very successful person, you somehow lost your orientation. You were not happy. And, being somebody who's watching this, people are wondering, why not? Why do you think you got confused?
I had too much too quickly. That's a simple answer. At some point when you see a lot of nice things, like it's like eating chocolate. If you eat one chocolate every day, after 20, 30 days, chocolate doesn't taste the same anymore. You get used to it. You're not getting the enjoyment out of it. I think that's what happened to me. I lost the direction a little bit. Figuring out, going back to the very beginning, understanding why I was doing everything, what was the thing that was driving me, that got me into this, helped me get out of that desensitized position, helped me to understand what is the ultimate goal, why I'm doing this, not what is the goal of my next action, but actually where I'm heading. That's what helped me get out of the position, and then I started enjoying it again.
Mm-hmm. Good. So also successful people have, many, crisis or whatever depressions. I have this in my radio show where I have so many people who are like big sportsmen and businessmen, and then you're losing track somehow, and you go back then.
It doesn't mean you stop doing, it's just
Yes.
You just lose the passion and you need to find it again. It's there. It's always there.
So you're telling us a little bit now about your business life, I think, or your path of life and your failures and your learnings.
Yes, and I will try to actually make it as esoteric as possible, and rather focus on the learning, less on myself. I probably can share the screen because it's going to be easier to look. Oh,
just a moment.
Yeah.
Now it's possible.
Okay. So, oh, no, not this one. Yeah, okay. I assume you can see the screen right now. Yeah. So, when Claudia asked me to talk to everyone and to give a presentation here, first I was thinking about talking about my business, but that would be boring. I mean, it would be just a business guy talking about what he does for a living. And there's many of such stories to see and hear on YouTube and everywhere you look. So I asked myself actually what was the big learning, the biggest thing that was a constant through all of my career so far. Considering that I'm only 35 years young, there's not much career to show, but some successes on the way. And when I look at it from a little bit of a distance, it actually becomes very, very clear that it's not a straight way up, not a straight way up. It's not a perfect line, but it has a lot of ups and downs that happen on the way, but the trajectory is always correct. And because I remember how it feels to be on the way down, I thought it would actually be an interesting thing to talk about this a little bit, because what helps you in those moments is actually knowing that even if you're going down, on long-term perspective, you'll always be going down. And that's what matters. So it's been a couple of years ago when I read this book. And this is just a very, very sloppy photo of the book that I have on the shelf somewhere behind me. That basically shows two different people: the steady Eddie, a guy who, the black line here, the guy who finds a job early in his life, does everything correctly, follows the rules, gets promoted very early on in his life to a manager, stays at that level and continues doing things as he was doing every day for years and decades. And then at some point, the environment changes, the company changes, and he loses his job and cannot find another way, another hold in his life, because he was following the rules. He's not used to changes. On the other side, you have the reckless Erica, a girl who is discovering herself in her 20s, discovers photography, let's say, and then has that moment where she's being successful, but then figures out that's not the right thing for her, so she goes down again, the red line. Then she discovers something completely different, let's say social media. Then her career goes up, but then once she's successful with that, she decides, oh, I want to do something else. So when you look at her life and her success, you always see these ups and downs. She does something, she's good at it, but then finds another passion and continues up and down, up and down. And at some point, she develops the passion and the skills to deal with constant changes. So when changes happen in a similar way as it happens with Eddie in the 40s and 50s, she's actually good at dealing with change, and she manages to reach much higher highs than Eddie would have ever been able to reach himself. So this story in this book I've read whatever you think the opposite is the name of the book. When I saw this was sort of a motivation to actually think about how could I do the science and how could I approach what I was doing back in the days in a different fashion. And the different fashion back in the days, already 10 years ago, was actually to start a company. A scientist who has always been good at doing science and nothing else changed his approach to tackling the issue of longevity, started the company, and everything else became what I call now my life. So what the power of this story is actually understanding that success, again, is not a straight line, it's not a straight way up, but very often comes with ups and downs, and we need to be able to deal with them and to learn from them continuously. And this is going to be the message of pretty much everything we say and see here today. And it's not just about human life, it's not just about the career. Many things that surround us have similar behavior. If we, for example, look at the behavior of the markets, of the economy, if you invested 1,000 pounds in 1992, so 30, almost a little bit more than 30 years ago, the money would have become more just by putting it into S&P 500, just the average of the 500 most successful companies in the world. So the market trajectory, the economy is long-term always growing. But when you look at how the market is growing, so not the blue line, but the violet one, you see that it's always going up and down, up and down. That's something we call volatility. And if you look at it at the short term, for example, the financial crisis in 2007, 2008, you will see actually how crazy the world was at that point, like what was happening with the market. You started at a particular point, then it went down, then it went up, then it went down again, something we call volatility. And during this period of 2007 to 2011, you would have had an impression that you were either losing or just going back to the point where you started at. So in a short-term perspective, actually, it doesn't seem like a success, but in the long term, if you stick to it for long enough, if you endure the hard moments, you actually see a growth of about 10% per year over the period of 30 years. So the perspective on how you look at things, what's happening to me right now versus where am I actually going, is what can help you deal with those moments in your life, not just with the markets. And not being able to deal with these moments, not being able to deal with hardships in life would be described as fragile, basically. And this is, and I'm very thankful, and it's an absolute coincidence that I just started reading a book that's dealing with this concept, and this was exactly what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Basically, the concepts of things breaking under pressure. That's what we would describe as fragile, be it a glass, be it porcelain vase, or a human that is not able to endure the hardships that are happening. So we can often see on the packages these signs: please handle with care. Things are breaking under stress, under pressure, hence we need to handle them very, very carefully. When scientists would ask people what is the opposite of fragility, in many cases the answer will be robustness. So it's not breaking under the pressure. But if you really think about the meaning of the word fragile, it is something breaking under pressure. So something not reacting to pressure is not the opposite thing. It's a neutral thing. What would be neutral is something that authors these days called anti-fragility, things that become better when you apply pressure to it. And finding good examples of anti-fragility at first becomes a little bit hard, but ultimately our planet, the nature itself, is a perfect example of anti-fragility, a thing that is always challenged, not just by humans, not just by climate change, but also many, many times in the past. This happened already, that the way things work in nature were challenged, and the nature adapted. Nature changed and managed to create even more out of the moments of hardships. So challenges being catalysts for growth rather than slowing it down or not causing any changes. And I'd like to focus a little bit on this concept of antifragility, because this is exactly what helps you on those ways down to actually figure out how to keep the trajectory upwards going. In nature, me being a scientist working with bacteria, humans, mice, and so on, I picked this example of antifragility in nature only to show how often it happens and what it can lead to. And what you can see in this image on the left side is a very simple test of antibiotics working on bacteria. So the white sleazy thing on this petri dish that looks like the outside of this flower is actually bacteria growing. The little white spots, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them here that make this flower, those are the little spots that are soaked, a little paper soaked with antibiotic. So when you put these antibiotic papers on the medium where bacteria is growing, the antibiotic is killing the bacteria. So we don't see any growth. The floor is transparent. Where there's no biotic, around these circles of the action of the antibiotic, you see this whitish color. That's the bacterial growth. So antibiotics kill bacteria. We know that. They are basically, from the perspective of humans, a very useful technology, very useful tool to fight the infections. If you're a bacterium, antibiotic is a weapon of mass destruction for you now, because it's killing whatever it touches. So every bacterium that's being touched by the antibiotic has been killed on the left side. On the right side, we're observing something very, very interesting for a scientist. Here, we do not see this flower. We see some bacteria growing around these white dots where they should have been killed by the antibiotic. And it's not that we haven't applied the antibiotic here correctly. It's actually that the bacteria has developed resistance to the antibiotics. And how this happens in nature is that the bacteria that's resistant to particular biotics has been exposed to biotics repeatedly in what we call in science sublethal doses. So when you apply antibiotic at lower than necessary doses on the bacterium, you just damage the bacterium, but you don't kill it. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger is also valid for the bacteria. So bacteria learns how to deal with different antibiotics, how to get rid of them, how to avoid the poisons, and over time it learns how to combat even the high supposedly lethal concentrations of the antibiotics. So it learns how to deal with hard situations. And this is also something that has been on many occasions also described by philosophers and historians. For example, also with Mithridates the Sixth, who was drinking poison every day, small doses of poison every day, because his father was killed by poisoning back in the, I think, 300 years before Christ in Greece, and being scared that his friends, his servants will also kill him. Mithridates was drinking poison every day, small doses, in order to avoid death by poisoning. His story ended up even in a worse way. His wife tried to poison him, didn't succeed, so he died by being stabbed by a knife. So even worse death than the poisoning itself. But this concept of Mithridatism, basically getting stronger by poison, is valid also in various areas of biology, including the bacteria, and it is a recurring phenomenon on various levels of biology. And this is also something that we would describe as antifragility, as this concept. And antifragility itself comes, or where it comes from, is basically being confronted with a failure, being confronted with something that is hard, and learning from it. So every failure, every error is actually an opportunity to learn. And one of such failures was something that happened already 30 years ago in a laboratory in Austria. In fact, it was a scientist who later on became my supervisor for the PhD thesis, who at that point himself was a student, a PhD student, running experiments on yeast cultures. And when you work with yeast, you have to feed the yeast. You have to give it sugar so it can multiply again and grow and keep being metabolically active to survive. And Frank, back in the days, being a student, had one or two drinks too many, went on a vacation, forgetting to feed his yeast colonies. And after a week of vacation, he came back to the laboratory completely devastated, thinking that his experiment has failed because he didn't feed his yeast. But because he was bored, didn't have anything to do on the first day of his work after the vacation, he started looking at the yeast cells under the microscope. And what he noticed was that some yeast cells have died, as he expected, because they haven't been fed, but some yeast cells actually survived the process. And that was quite an interesting observation, that not all have died. And interestingly, the younger ones survived for longer. And then he started examining what was really regulating which cells are dying and which ones are surviving. And what he saw was that older cells, when they saw that there is a limitation of food in the environment, they decided not to be selfish. They decided rather to be selfless and to commit something that we would call a cellular suicide, the apoptosis, a process where the cell dies in a programmed, controlled fashion, degrades everything that's inside the cell, and uses these little fragments that we also see in this image. Those are then being used for the cells that survive as food, and thereby the whole colony, the offsprings of the dead cell, can continue to survive, can continue to live, and be prosperous. And this was quite an interesting discovery, because it was the first time that a unicellular organism, where one cell is one organism, was showing a behavior that was absolutely altruistic rather than egoistic. And this was basically beating every theory in natural and life sciences that was always assuming that the genes are selfish, as we would call them. They always look for themselves. They have their own, so to say, ego, and that they always follow the survival of the fittest. And who's the fittest? I should be the fittest. In this case, it's someone else who should be the fittest, who I'm giving the space and energy to. So in this particular example, we've seen actually an error. We've seen a failure that resulted in my supervisor back in the days becoming world famous for the discovery of apoptosis in these simple cells, which created a completely new field of scientific activity, which led to many good things afterwards. And now various drugs, various therapeutics for example, cancer or dementia, are being developed based on this concept of apoptosis and programmed cell death. Another example, rather from the business side, is, and there are many of these, but I particularly like this one because I'm a gamer myself, is actually the case of the Angry Birds. Angry Birds, for ones of you who do not know, is a game that you can play on your phone. It's a very, very simple, very childish game that has been the most selling game or most downloaded free game in the world over the last 20-30 years. And how this game was invented, how it was created, it was actually three guys living in Finland, dropping out of the university, starting a company to design computer games. 51 games later, they were running broke because none of their games wouldn't sell. And they decided that they only had money for one more game, one more try, so it better be worth it. And after almost running bust, they started developing multiple ideas, trying to figure out what are they going to do with the next one shot they had. And in 2009, they sketched the first Angry Bird, the red bird. If you played it, you've seen it many, many times. In 2009, this very, very simple game came into the market, and in the first 5 years, it had 2 billion downloads, which is an insane number for such a simple game. So in 5 years, they reached 2 billion downloads, And the year after, in the 6th year of it being on the market, it reached additional 1 billion, becoming the most downloaded premium game. So what did these guys do? They didn't give up. And what did they create? They created most downloaded game that was for free. So a business guy like myself is asking immediately the question, so why would you do something like that? Why would you, like, what is the purpose of bringing a free game? They built the whole merchandising model, basically earning money by selling t-shirts of these Angry Birds, selling upgrades in the game, and so on. And the story continues. 2023, last year in August, so about 1 year ago, the whole company was sold to Sega. The whole Rovio Entertainment was sold to Sega for insane 776 million US dollar, an insane amount of money, just based on the guys not giving up, creating a simple game that was available for free. So in all these stories, people have made failures, people have created errors, but they didn't give up. And just not giving up itself is not enough to be successful. Well, I have a friend who actually a businessman coach who is always saying that if you keep repeating over and over again, if you keep failing over and over again, you're nothing but a failure yourself. But if you learn out of your failures, at some point you will stop failing and you'll start succeeding. And that's the purpose of failure. There is a slight difference between actual failure and just things going wrong, and that is the learning. So every error, every failure is an opportunity to learn. And what you can learn from failures, which happens in laboratory every couple of weeks, because we're doing experiments, we're trying new things. That's the definition of science. You have to do something new. If it was easy, we would be doing new things every day, but it's not easy. So we try to do new things and we fail, and then we try to do it slightly differently to learn something from it. And that's how you become successful at these things. And the process of learning very often is understanding the weaknesses of the system, or how things don't work, or what doesn't work. And very often also you learn how things look like when they're not working, which very often is being neglected. The reason why people very often fail at learning from the observing my employees, my colleagues, and also myself, very often is actually that people are focusing on themselves as actors of the whole process of success, but actually the whole thing is ego independent. It's independent of our oneself. Hence, by removing the focus from oneself to external things, to the process, you are much more likely to learn those things and become smarter through the process. And what it all means, if we look at the mathematical function, made up mathematical function of where we are in life, what happens in life, we will have successes and we will think that we've reached the top. Then we will have something that changes the trajectory, that pushes us down. And what we reach is feeling like the very, very bottom of everything. But things can always get worse. And things, per definition, every now and then will get worse. So what we would in mathematics call these are local minima. And when you reach the local minimum, you always feel very badly. Pardon my French, you feel like shit. But at this situation, it is important to remove the focus from yourself and understand that it is necessary to break the system in order to build a new one. And that's what happens on the way. So by reaching various local minima, you're actually on the best way to reach the global maximum, the highest position in this function. And this is also how life is. Over the time, as we remember from the development of the stock markets, for example, over the time, things improve. So it's important to actually not give up, to learn on the way and learn how to avoid moments that are leading to the global minimum. So if there is one thing that I would like to communicate to everyone here today, is actually, it's not just about not giving up, but actually seeing failures as opportunities to learn, opportunities to get that upswing, the way up. This is an important the important point of view when you're dealing with high risk situations like science, like entrepreneurship are. And now going a little bit back into history, because the concept of anti-fragility is only a couple of years old, at least in modern literature and in the modern psychology, but the mechanism behind it, or what prevents us to become anti-fragile, and actually what makes us fragile and in some cases robust, is actually something that Hegel, a German philosopher, has already described in the, if I remember correctly, 19th century. He was talking about how the human separates, how the flesh separates from the spirit, although back in the days, the spirit was actually considered to be our consciousness and our brain, our learning. So he was describing that humans, in his observation as a philosopher, would usually go to three different mechanisms how to deal with failure, three different ways of dealing with negative events in their life. The main one would be the blaming others. Once you start blaming others, everyone else's fault that I'm not doing well in life, you start feeling pity for yourself. You start victimizing yourself. And getting out of it is basically saying, no, I am entitled to get everything in life. And that's basically, again, focus on myself, focus on my entitlement. Out of the entitlement, I should get the good things, but I'm not getting good things. You start asking yourself why, and the answer is blaming others. So it's everyone else's fault. So you get in this vicious triangle of blaming others, feeling self-pity, feeling entitled, and then starting blaming others again, because you're not getting all the best things in life. And getting out of this vicious triangle is actually what Hegel often describes as enabling learning from failures, removing yourself from the center of things, removing the center of gravity towards the outside, observing the process, seeing failure as just a puzzle that needs to be solved rather than as a life-changing event that you cannot actively change yourself. And if this is a way not to do it, if the Hegel's vicious triangle is a way not to do it, then the way to do it is becoming more aware of your anti-fragility, becoming aware of how able you actually are whenever and wherever you are in your life to actually change things. And for this, and I'd like to finish also with this one, for this, there is an exercise, a relatively simple one that you can do over and over and over again through your life, and that will always give you a little bit of grounding when it comes to your ability to be anti-fragile and to practice it even more. So if you draw X and Y axis, X being the horizontal one, and Y being the vertical one, on the X axis you can put your years, or either calendar years or the age you were at when particular things happen. So on the horizontal you have the age, on the y-axis, the vertical one, you have how good things felt, or how successful that particular event was. And then you will see that, for example, in your life there were moments where you felt very, very happy, the first good grade at school. Then you felt very, very bad because the girl at school that you liked didn't like you back. Then you had a good moment because you had your first kiss. Then you find out that you got very bad grades in your assignment, and so on and so on. So you will have your ups and downs at different moments. Things will feel good, things will feel bad, and you will have this non-linear, not a straight line of how your life went. So when you connect these different moments, you get the line, and what you see is basically that your whole life has been many ups and downs. And if you really want to be prudent, if you want to be a proper nerd like I am, you can even separate these things and you can say, I'm not just looking at the overall quality of my life, but I'll look at how my love life developed over time, how my career has developed over time, how my happiness and my health and many other things have developed over time. I don't have it here on my desk, but I have many of these pictures at different moments in my life where I use the different colors to draw this to see what has happened in my life, where have I been robust, where have I been anti-fragile, where did I learn? And once you have this, you can do the next 4 points of the analysis. Once you drew your life, once you have an overview of the last 15, 25, 35, or 70 years of your life, you can look at which moments have been the defining moments for yourself. You can look for moments where things felt rough, but you were happy. You could find a way to deal with it. Those we would call endurance or robustness. You can also find the moments where bad things happen, but immediately after something very, very good happened. That's a sign of anti-fragility. That's a sign that you learned from the bad situation and you brought yourself up even higher. You can also see that some things stay stable in your life. In some cases, for rather younger people, it's very often the health or friendships or family life, whatever you select, or whatever is the case for you. But some things change and you can see when they change. So for example, for me, my happiness changes with my business success. I've seen that on several occasions. When I decide to leave a particular job, I have a rather feeling of lesser happiness. Then I find a new idea, a new vision, and then my career goes up and my happiness goes up parallelly. So there is a correlation between those two. Why is this helpful? It's helpful because in these moments you can actually see your personality, your behavior, your triggers, and you can not just be a slave of those. You can actually use them to feel better and to have your life a little bit more under control, to show basically the anti-fragility in your life, to bring yourself into these situations. And this is also the last question, basically, what enhances your anti-fragility? Which things are necessary for you to show this behavior, to show something that helps you become successful, be it science, be it business, be it studies, be it family life, or being a good friend. And I would encourage everyone to do this exercise as a homework for today, and not just to do it once, do it again next year and the year after, and look at how things are changing for you. You can do it on a daily basis, you can do it on a monthly basis, you can do it for different years in your life, and you will see the difference, because becoming aware makes you happier and more consistent in these things, and consistency ultimately pays off. So I hope I didn't bore you too much. I have a email address of mine here, so if you guys want to contact me whenever you feel like, please do so. The QR code is hiding my LinkedIn profile, so feel free, if you're using LinkedIn, also to contact me there. If there's any questions, if you have any inquiries, feel free to contact me, and I'll be happy to answer and support you guys wherever I can. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So are there any questions now? This would be the moment. Samrat, you were studying your pharmacy. What were your learnings when you were failing in biochemistry? What were the learnings? What did you learn there?
I was learning botany. I
Botanic.
didn't get
Excuse me. This was my mistake.
biochemistry my subject to take, but somehow I didn't get it. I want to ask one question to Slaven.
Yeah.
Means why our ancestors used to live so long? Means they used to live a healthy life, very healthy life. So is this because of the processed food, or because of the environmental change that we are having now? So that
there are many different things that have changed over time. I mean, if you go very far back, you actually see that the human life was on average 30 to 40 years of age, and that's when we died in most of the cases. There were some people who would reach the age of 70 or 80, but the main cause of death back in the days was various infections. So it would be either lung infections or, cuts, or being attacked by a tiger, and then or whatever animal, and then the wound infects, and then you die through sepsis and various other diseases. So the big jump in the expected age of the population, at least on average, happened with the introduction of antibiotics, which is the technological advancement, and improvement in hygiene, access to drinkable water, learning that washing hands actually reduces the rate of infection transmission, which was discovered here in Vienna, not far away from where I live. Those are the things that actually push the life expectancy higher and higher. The next thing was actually the industrialization of, also a big influencer was the industrialization of food production. So being able to produce enough food for everyone. But we overdid it on that one, started ultra processing the foods. And what you see today in some countries, for example, US, is already a slow decline in the average expected age of the population. And we are still not 100% sure what's causing this, but what's correlating the best with this data is the consumption of ultra processed foods. So not relying anymore on natural food as it is. Lack of physical activity, because if you look at averages of our population, how much exercise we do every day, or how much movement, not even exercise, movement actually, we do every day, it's steadily declining. Just an example, the World Health Organization until a couple of years ago was recommending 10,000 steps to be the border between healthy lifestyle. So anything more than 10,000 steps per day is healthy, and less than that is unhealthy behavior, unhealthy lifestyle. This was based on analyzing the data from the late 80s and early 90s, where this was the border between people who would live long and people who wouldn't. 2 or 3 years ago, a new study came out that showed that it's not the 10,000 steps, but it's 5,000 steps that are differentiating between a healthy lifestyle and unhealthy lifestyle. Almost everyone celebrated this. I've seen many newspaper articles saying, hey, the humans have improved. We only need 5,000 steps rather than 10,000 steps. If you're good at statistics and mathematics and you look into the data, you understand why the level dropped. The level dropped because the average human moved so little that even 5,000 steps already have improved their health. It's not that humans became better. It's actually we became so bad at it that even a small intervention improved something. And then the devastating news from a year and a half ago, an article from University of Oxford showing that 3,000 steps is enough. 3,000 steps is enough to have a healthy life. So we become even worse at moving and walking and doing exercise. And this is very much correlated with incidence of different diseases, from cardiovascular diseases, from dementia, from depressions, from various cancers. All these things come with less activity, with lesser muscle health, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. So ultra processed foods, movement, stress is a big thing as well. We very often do not really know how stressed we are. Human biology, our body is used to being stressed by different things, but there's a difference between acute stress, something that happens in the moment. I'm scared. I think I've seen someone in my apartment. I get scared. Then I walk into the room. I see that it's nothing. It's a bird that flew close to the window or something like that. And then my body deals with that. My organism gets the stress out of the system. That's different from the chronic stress, the one that's constantly present. And where it comes from, often work, relationships, both friendships, family, and romantic relationships, relationships with oneself, lack of sleep, even various devices that we always use and basically are not adapted to the human biology. All these things cause our body to be constantly stressed, constantly inflamed in that case, and then you get various diseases that shorten your life. So What I want to say with this is there's not just one thing that makes people live longer or shorter. It's actually all these things coming together and having influence on the human biology. For a long time, we've seen the upward trajectory as the society has improved, as we got better access to food, as we got better access to medicine, to clean water, the technology, the life was getting better. But now we're reaching the point where everything's so nice that we're again failing. And there is I forgot his name, but one of the sheikhs from the Middle Eastern country, after being asked what is his projection, I think it was Saudi Arabia, what is his projection for the future? He said, how does he imagine his kids and the next generations dealing with the politics and economy of the country? He brought a quote saying that bad times make strong men make good times. Good times bring weak men bring bad times. And we're always going through these cycles. So trying to be a good man, a good woman, a strong man, strong woman is actually how you can deal with this, because the statistics we cannot change, but we can change our individual lives.
Can I ask one question? And
Please.
if you look back at history, in the chronology, you will see that humans are most affected by the influenza or viruses. Means why so much? Means why these viruses and bacteria affected people or human very much? Means if you see to the history, means the pandemic. Most of the pandemics happened to the humans. You will see the influenza or Spanish influenza, or like recently coronavirus. So why these things happens to us? Means there are also animals.
I mean, viruses and bacteria attack animals as well. It's on one side, it's the purpose of a bacterium and virus to survive and to thrive. When you look at, for example, evolution of some viruses, you will see that some viruses that were lethal at the very beginning of infecting humans and that were killing people, slowly over time evolved into non-lethal viruses in order to survive for longer, because a virus doesn't have an advantage of me dying and not transmitting the disease. It's much happier with me surviving and transmitting it to as many other humans as possible in order for the virus to spread. It's its function. It's a very, very simple computer program, if you want to call it. It's a very simple line of code which says, get as many people infected as possible and you will thrive, you will develop. So why is it so? I'm not an expert in virology and bacteriology to answer exactly, but this is what these organisms, or some of these organisms, have been optimized on by nature through just simple processes of evolution. A fish was optimized to survive underwater and breathe. Viruses were optimized on surviving in various other organisms because they're not able to survive on their own. And that's why some of them became so efficient that they sometimes kill us. Then they know, oh, we've done too much. That's basically viruses failing, because they're not really getting anything from killing us. They're actually getting something from staying in us, and like influenza, for example, is doing for a very, very long time, spreading through the population and actually improving itself.
I really have a very bad habits of procrastinating things. So how can I change these things? Means I think like let's do it tomorrow, and then after that tomorrow becomes today, and then I think let's do it tomorrow. There is enough time, and then in the end of the day, I hurry things that I have to do this within today, and then I get a lot of stress. So
I mean,
if you guys,
I have it sometimes as well, like in the moments when I'm not feeling well, or in the moments where I feel a little bit lazy, I will also procrastinate until the very last moment. I've there's an unhealthy way of dealing with it, which I practice very often. It's do many things at the same time, and you'll always have something that has to be done today. So you'll always keep doing, although you're procrastinating all the time, just you're procrastinating on many different things. So it's like Legos, you know, it just falls into place if you're lucky, and it doesn't come everything at the same time, but that's not really the healthy way. What helps is keeping track of things you are doing and always having to do one thing per day for one particular thing. So if you procrastinate on your exercise, you put a list of 5 exercises you want to do. One of these exercises has to be done every day. Push-ups or sit-ups or whatever. If you do just one today, you can give yourself a good mark. Rather than having the goal at 100%, lower it down, be happy with 20, 30, 40, 50%, but get the consistency. And slowly you will get out of the habit of procrastination. Procrastination is not necessarily always bad, but sometimes it can become an issue.
Thank you.
What is the latest revelation of science? When is a habit established in our brain? What amount of time do you need?
Ooh, I forgot that. I forgot that. I think I read it in one of the books, but I can't remember if it's 1,000 hours of doing something or 10,000 hours, something like that. I think 10,000 hours was the expert, but I think the habit is 1,000 repetitions.
21 days are often mentioned as the
3 weeks.
period of establishing.
Okay, are there any more questions?
It
India.
works. 21 days of
21
doing
days?
I don't know. But I don't think it works for me. Means I have tried, but something doesn't work.
Samrat, we have to make a private coaching because this problem already. I've heard about this problem from you many years. Yeah,
Yes.
but I am also a last minute type of person. I have to admit, yes.
Milon has a question, I think.
Jojo?
Milon has a question.
Milon. Okay, Milon. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for giving your time today. The fact that when I came to know about death, so I'm very not a big fan of death. And in my relative, like many people have died in a short span of time. So how does a genetic play a role in increasing human longevity?
How does, sorry, what influence the longevity?
Genetics. How does
Genetic
genetics
part.
play?
Lifespan.
So if I understood you correctly, how fragility influences the longevity process. So the nature itself has a tendency to build redundancy into the system rather than making everything perfect and working only one particular way. It builds multiple paths to the same solution. So it always has optionality of getting out of the bad situation. And how this plays into the longevity is basically our body being able to react in different ways to different challenges. So if you, for example, have a high stress situation, your body reacts to it by producing the so-called free radicals. These free radicals are then damaging your cells, but at the same time, they're sending the signal to the cells that can repair the situation to come and sort it out. So that's one of the answers. So that's one of the mechanisms to respond to stressors. The other side, when there's a lot of stress in the cell starts also producing its internal stress response, which is the antioxidants. They're basically capturing the free radicals and removing them from the cell. So these are being switched on at the same time. And because of this redundancy, because of these two different ways of dealing with the same situation, even if one of them is broken, the other one is there to at least lower the effect on what's happening, what's stressing the cell. It's very, very similar with many other approaches in biology. Very often you will find different things serving the same purpose, one being dominant, but when the dominant drops out, there's always things that can actually soften the blow and neutralize the effect on the biology. So that plays a little bit into the longevity. Keeping all the mechanisms going helps you basically stay longer, healthier for longer. And when these things break, for example, DNA repair mechanisms, so when there's mutations and changes in the DNA that happen in the genetic material that then might cause growth of cancer, for example, DNA repair mechanisms, when they break, then you have faster aging. And it's not just enough for one of the DNA repair mechanisms to be broken. It needs to be multiple of those to actually start seeing the aging effects.
You have a genetic disposition, and this is also a big influence on your lifespan, isn't it? This is what Milo means. He has there were so many diseases in his family, and so many people died early. And so is it more probable that the next generation has the same problem?
So when it comes to the genetics, we've been believing for a very long time that genetics play a big role in aging and longevity. However, the science, the latest studies over the last 10, 15 years have shown that genetics only play anywhere between 4 and 25% of longevity and aging processes. So genetics are responsible for a rather smaller part of aging process rather than the lifestyle that actually influences the longevity and aging process in the body. And just a recent study from a couple of months ago shown that even people who have bad genetics, if they live their life properly, so if they eat healthy, if they exercise regularly, if they sleep well, if they surround themselves with good people and their social circle is strong enough, that they can almost fully neutralize the bad genetics. So it's actually by watching your lifestyle, making sure that you are eating properly, you're exercising, you are sleeping well, you're dealing with stress properly, you have your social circle. All these things will actually help you neutralize the genetic effect.
Mm-hmm. So this is a very interesting aspect, that also your friends are very important, as you said, the social environment. So Omar has also a question. Omar, you are putting your hand up. Yeah. And I would like also one of the young women here, for after also have at least one question. So think about it. Omar, okay, go ahead.
Hello, Slavik and everyone. We are glad to have you amongst us. Thank you for your precious time. So I have few questions which are like in a row. Why I'm saying it in a row? Because I won't be having the chance to ask the question next time, because there are many people waiting in the queue. So as being an health expert and longevity expert, so I have few questions. Like nowadays, it's a like thing in the social media or be it YouTube. There is an individual named Brian Johnson who is said to claim to say that he is anti-aging, and we have seen his videos most of the time, be it shorts or reels. So what are your comments? He has got the access to like costly medications, and as a result of which he is doing this, and your company basically focuses on this autopsy or something, right? Autopsy. So what are your thoughts and about this regarding like individuals like us? This was the first question. And in one of your TEDx video, you said that human body can be both source and solution to the disease, right? So there was something you before ending your video, you stated something, said like that: consuming coffee in the right way. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So consuming coffee in the right way, without excluding the milk and the sugar, it would help in the autopsy. And then you also stated that doing exercises doing exercises regularly and doing it empty stomach before taking our first bite of meal. So it really helps. So would you, without using like scientific, more of scientific terms, would you simplify this to all of us and how it really works, and what are your like regular, how you are dealing with this particular thing in your regular basis? Because the video which was posted 7 years back, you look something different and you are like something different now. You look really amazing. So how you are doing it in your life and how it's working? Thank you.
Thank you for the questions and the compliment. So I'll start with the last question. The scientific opinion on when you are supposed to exercise when fasting has changed in the meantime, as it always does. We always discover something new when this works, but something else. So in the meantime, what we know is that if you are working on the endurance part, for example, if you're working on endurance, then exercising during fasting in a fasted state is good. If you want to build muscles, if you're trying to build muscle mass, then exercising in a fasted state doesn't help. So then you should actually eat something, wait a little bit, and then exercise to give your body enough nutrients to build those muscles. What it also shows is that the body reacts differently to exercise. Your maximal weight and maximal weight that you can lift is reduced when you're fasting, and because your muscles have already used all the sugar that's inside the muscles, you're burning more fat, less sugar, which leads to lesser performance. So are you supposed to exercise in fasted or full state? It really depends what kind of training you're after and what you're trying to do. If you're trying to lose fat in the body, then exercise fasted. If you're trying to do endurance training, then both options are okay. There's no effect. If you're trying to do muscle building exercises, so you want to build the muscle mass, then you should actually exercise after you've eaten. So that's the answer to that question. When it comes to coffee consumption, coffee is generally being considered healthy according to the results of the studies. However, it can activate autophagy, the process of the recycling in the cells, but the effect of autophagy can be reduced by adding sugar and milk to your coffee. So when you add it, then you're bringing calories into your body, which gives the signal to the body to produce insulin, so basically hormones of digestion, and it completely changes the biology of your body. So if you want to keep the autophagy going, this recycling mechanism in our cells, it is recommended not to add milk, not to add sugar to your coffee, in order to keep the process going on. And then there are also other things to consider with coffee. A couple of years ago, a study came out showing that because when you wake up, you shouldn't drink your coffee immediately. You should wait for at least half an hour, ideally an hour, until you start drinking coffee in order to let your body wake up naturally. Because in that process, some particular chemicals that your brain produces when you're sleeping are slowly being removed from the brain. So during this process, the clearing mechanism only works when you're not ingesting caffeine. So when your body is forced to wake up naturally. If you drink coffee, you interrupt this cleaning process, and what you achieve is wakefulness through the effect of the coffee. But as the coffee is degraded in your body and the chemicals from the sleep are still present there, but the process of waking up is not happening anymore, you start to feel tired. And people who drink a lot of coffee in the morning very often have a very deep dip of energy in the afternoon, because they didn't really let their brain wake up properly. So the sleepiness chemicals in the brain are still present. That's why it's recommended to wait a little bit with the first coffee during the day. And to your...
what does a little bit mean? I have to know this precisely. So I'm coffee addicted.
30 minutes to an hour.
30 minutes, okay.
Yeah. Ideally an hour, but 30 minutes, so very often is enough. Yeah. Depends how quickly the body recovers from the sleep, how deep the sleep was, if you're interrupted in REM sleep, or but 30 minutes to an hour. And then when it comes to Brian Johnson and similar individuals, you've noticed correctly, Brian has a lot of money. He has access to everything. I've read somewhere that he's spending $2 million US every year on his anti-aging routines. That's the money that most of us don't really have to spend just on health in generally, to spend it all. So what Brian is doing is not really feasible for most of us. There is also, as a scientist, I have to be critical. His approach to dealing with anti-aging is not following the scientific rules. So learnings that he is making out of the process are only limited. He's doing many things, trying them out, measuring rather artificial outcomes that are not necessarily just aging, that have some to do with many other things in medicine and biology. So would I recommend someone to do everything Brian is doing? No. It's very, very simple, no. But does it provide value to the society? Yes, it does. He's trying different things and he's seeing effect of some, he's seeing no effects of some others. And someone keeping a track, someone being open about these things, talking to everyone, is helping us scientists design our experiments and look at all those things in a proper scientific fashion in the laboratories and clinical trials. What Brian Johnson has also succeeded at in the last year and a half, 2 years since he's been active is, and very vocal on YouTube and various other channels, is that many other people have now become aware of longevity as an area of expertise in science, and now more money is flowing into our research, more things are being discovered, many people are now interested about it. Also, many people on the streets are now interested about learning about this, which is also a positive effect of what he's doing. So indirect effects, there are many. I've just recently also seen that one of the products that has been advertised in the US for a very, very long time, the AG1, which is basically a protein powder made out of plants. He has compared it to some other products, has used it, and is showing, for example, why it doesn't work. Negative results also are a big part of science, and him tackling this, also being open about things that work and don't work, does create some good and does create some additional value to every one of us. But again, would I recommend anyone to do something that Brian is doing? Not really, because it's too risky to test all these things. Some things are good, some things are bad. I don't know if you were aware of it, but for sometimes he was even getting blood transfusion from his son. So he was basically exchanging blood between him and his son in order to be younger. All these things, those are malpractices in medicine and are not accepted way and not tested way to modulate human biology, and we should be really, really careful with all these things. But we can still learn something from it, so there is a positive on it.
Okay, thank you. But there was a question which stated that how you are inculcating these things into your daily life, and it's there's a great transition in you from back 2017 till now. So how is that?
So I start my day with vegetables, because 5 portions of fruits and vegetables are what's necessary for healthy nutrition, and 5 portions is, unless you're vegetarian or vegan, 5 portions can be quite an amount. So I start my day, if I'm eating breakfast, with vegetables. I fast regularly. I fast one whole day per week, where I just drink water and coffee in order to keep the autophagy going, and also to manage my blood pressure. I try to exercise regularly 3 to 4 times a week. Sometimes aerobic exercise, more often lately is muscle building exercises, because I'm trying to get some muscle mass on my body. focusing on protein nutrition, protein ingestion, that there is sufficient proteins for the muscle growth and generally nerve function. I don't use many supplements. The supplements I use is vitamin D during the colder months when there's not enough sun, because I'm very sensitive to it. I have a genetic mutation of vitamin C metabolism, so I take vitamin C, especially when there's influenzas and other viruses circulating around, to help me deal with that. And I appreciate my sleep a lot, so that's one thing I really focus on, having hygiene, so to say, when it comes to sleep. Staying social, which can be challenging when you're traveling a lot, but still works out somehow. That's pretty much it. And drinking water, eating healthy food, so cooking myself, being closer to the source, closer to the raw materials is basically what helps. So many things that actually one can do.
And no alcohol, nearly.
And very little alcohol, yeah.
Yes. So this is because these are the latest results of research, aren't they? So some of you might drink a beer sometimes, and you have some alcohol issues in your family, as I know. And as there was late research said that you shouldn't drink any. So it's no, because there was before they thought it's healthy to have some amount, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and the older studies show that there is a positive effect of a little bit of alcohol, but these studies included people who stopped drinking alcohol because of alcoholism, people who stopped drinking alcohol because they had cancer and some other serious diseases, and those people were included in the group of not drinking alcohol. So they weren't drinking alcohol for because of a choice, but because of a medical need. So when you remove these people from the analysis, you actually see that even a little bit of alcohol already has a negative effect on the health. Yeah.
What kind of effect?
Well, it improves the aging of the brain. So you have higher risk of developing dementia. It damages the heart, damages the liver, although a little bit of alcohol, you cannot really see it on the liver as much because liver regenerates rather quickly. There is a study, a psychological study, that showed that even if you're a regular drinker, even after drinking just one drink, your IQ drops for 5 points for next 2 to 3 days. So like when I was doing my exams, trying to get into Cambridge, I stopped drinking because even a drop of IQ of 5 is, can be significant, and can be a difference between getting into university or not. So I focused on being as fit as functional as I could be. And generally, if you can avoid alcohol, you should. There's water and many other good things to drink.
No benefit, even if we would like, if we would wish to have some, but this is a lie. Okay, Asad, you are, thank you, Slaven. Asad, you have raised your hand long time already. What is your question? Going to Romania here. Asad.
You're still.
You have to unmute your microphone, I think. We don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. And my question is that in one point of in your presentation, I have seen there is a point called is with the passion change, that we need to sometimes change the passion. For me, how much is in reality it's like relatable? Is it really helping us to all the time change the passion?
I don't think it's necessary to change the passion or the direction, but we shouldn't keep doing things just because we did them that way before. I think constant questioning and exploring yourself is what helps you. And if you come to the same conclusion and same result, then keep doing what you're doing. Well done. But if a different outcome comes after a couple of years of doing something, that you're not happy with it, that it's not purposeful, then it is fine to accept it and change your behavior. I think it's more about adapting to the environment rather than constantly changing just for the sake of change.
Why are you asking this, Asad? Are you feeling in your job that there is too little passion?
No, like sometimes my mind is like, oh, maybe I should try this. I'm passionate about this. I should try this. Again, after some days, like to be honest, I bought a guitar, and I was very passionate to that. I will play a guitar in 1 month. I will be like pop star, rock star. I will be playing like this. But after 2 or 3 weeks, all the interest gone. I packed my how it came in my room. It packed again in my cupboard. So I'm not interested anymore again. And sometimes I am thinking to dance. Sometimes many things have many passions. So like, and after that, like my brain, oh, I don't want to think of all these things. It will ruin my life, ruin my time, because for me now, time is very important. Now I have more responsibility, more work, so I'm just stopping all this. I can't think about my passion anymore. Yes, I can think, but I don't have any interest much like before.
Your Asad is working, just to explain to Slaven, he came to Romania 2 years ago, and you are now in the office for calculation for a timber production company. So you have, but you are speaking about hobbies, I think. So Slaven, because there you can try many things. Isn't it like that? That you can have different passions because you do it besides the job. The job is your main occupation in life, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. But like my life is sometimes thinking like, oh, maybe I should after some point of time I should change it to new one, another ones to try, to have the adventure, to have the experience in another field, what it could be. Because to be honest, I studied different thing, but I'm now working in a different field. But I was in the before I was very nervous that I can or if I cannot, but I'm very luckily doing very good in the office, and I was not much good in mathematics, but over here mainly about thinking, mathematics, some calculation. But I'm working here very good now. That's why I'm getting much more responsibility. So it's like maybe after some point of time, not so fast, maybe after 10 years, I should move to another one to try something new, to have something new, to experience something new.
I mean, I don't know you that well, and I don't know what you want to achieve, but I don't think that exploration is a bad thing. In general, there are two different strategies that we always play in life. One is exploration, figuring out what we like and what suits us well. But then once you're done with exploration, there has to be a phase of being dedicated to one thing and doing one thing correctly. And I think managing this process of figure out what you like, but then do that thing really well is what always wins in the end. Because whenever you look at who wins in the end, it's always the consistent ones. 1% improvement over a longer period of time make much better results than a little 10% down, 20% down, and so on. So, but there's a positive. You try to play a guitar and you now know that you don't want to play guitar. I'm sad for you. I'm stuck with the guitar for the last 25 years. Yeah.
And another problem is with the health. Like you is mentioned about sleeping, like before 30 minutes we must eat before going to bed. And like over here, many people, or rather say many colleagues, they are saying that it's very healthy to eat dinner at 6, 7. But for me, 6, 7 is like having a snacks. How can I eat dinner at 6 or 7 o'clock and so like this is ruining my life sometimes. And when I'm thinking that, oh, if I eat now, maybe after some time I will sleep after using phone and all these things. But after just I finish my eating, I came to bed and then I am dead. I mean, I'm sleeping. I cannot control myself. Is it because of the walking I am tired, or is it because of some kind of health problem?
I don't think it's a health problem. I mean, I don't have enough data to answer it, but it shouldn't be a health problem. It's more of a habit, from what I hear. But I mean, if you've tried and you cannot succeed at eating 6-7, and then you're hungry and tired, or you're not able to survive the hours after that, then it's something that you cannot easily change. So the question is, can you do something else that's good for you instead of that? And ultimately, I think when it comes to health and longevity, it's not about doing everything the right way. It's doing things that you can do the right way and creating habit out of those. What are the ones where the barrier of entry, the barrier to do something is the lowest, and building that habit first and strengthening that. And yeah, that's how I would approach it. But I don't think that there's a health issue behind you eating and then falling asleep immediately after, or not being able to eat at 6-7. It's more of
Indian way, isn't it? The Indian way to eat very late, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because so
very
many now just left, not many, but some left for dinner. Now it's like 9 o'clock, I think, in India. Or, yeah.
And the last is it really true that by smoking you have the less stress? Because most of my colleagues are smoking, and when I ask them, they say, "Oh, to reduce the stress, we are over stressed. We need to concentrate, so we are smoking." Is it truly real?
I think people build a habit. They connect the smoking with de-stressing rather than, I mean, there are some chemical aspects of smoking that also could potentially reduce the stress, but I think it's more of the habit, basically creating the anchor is what you would describe it in sometimes in psychology, or even in some other areas where you connect one activity with a particular physiological effect, basically conditioning. That might be the most prominent mechanism behind that. But long-term, smoking is definitely damaging your health and not a healthy habit. So it's more of a coping mechanism rather than really building a system that works long-term. So if you're not smoking, well done. You shouldn't start smoking. It's not. Yeah.
Yes.
I want. It's also expensive. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Slaven. So we have some more questions, Slaven. How much time can we still? How much of your precious time you're spending still with us?
Let's do another 10 minutes, then I'll have to leave you guys.
Another 10 minutes. So quickly, Bishal, you have.
Claudia, I have a question.
Oh, I know. There are some, but Bishal was raising his hand long time ago. So I start with you. Just one question, not many.
I was having a question that I have seen many of my friends bulking very fast, but for me, it's taking lots of time. So you said something about supplement. So I was thinking, then is it good to consume supplement like having creatine monohydrate to build fats or muscle build or something like that?
So there are supplements that are good for you and the supplements that aren't. Creatinine before training definitely helps with the muscle growth. Can be damaging on the kidneys if you're taking it for a long time. So I wouldn't recommend taking it for longer than 2 to 3 months on one go. Then you need the washout phase of at least six months.
I just wanted to ask, is it genetic? Because I have seen my friends, they are bulking very fast. And for me, I have tried for years, but I'm not bulking. Is it genetic?
Can be genetics as well. It can be genetics, yeah. I would first check the protein intake. If you're taking enough proteins and not bulking, it could be the genetics, but or the type of exercise you're doing. If you're I mean, I don't know how you're training. Like the training routine needs to be adjusted for it. But if you're doing a lot of exercise and still not seeing the muscle growth, it's either nutrition or the genetics. Yeah.
Okay, Sanad. Thank you, Bishal. Sanad, what about you? Good to
Thank
see you.
Thank you. Good. Your video I was not watching. It was watching by the VTC boys also. Most of them came to me and tell me I saw what you're doing. My question is that early morning, what do you prefer, coffee or a glass of water? Which one is good?
Yeah, I drink water first. When I wake up, the first thing I do is drinking water.
Also because you're doing this fasting, isn't it, Slaven? Doesn't it has to do with your routine?
It has to do with the dehydration that your body goes through after sleeping. So when you sleep, you don't really drink water for extended period of time, and at least where I live, the humidity of the rooms and everything is not adjusted to maintain the hydration level. So most of us are dehydrated when we wake up.
So first water, and after some time, you told us we should wait a little bit, the coffee after 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Sanat, what is yeah, so this is answering your question.
Answering my question.
Yes.
I
Because
got my answer.
the answer for all the boys who are behind you, and you're sharing the answer. He's the warden in our boys' dormitory. So now many people are listening to him.
Nice.
Okay, so there we have Omar and Milon for being quick. Milon, what is your question? None of the girls posed the question, so I'm the one holding
Yes,
the female part here. Yeah.
Small question. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we are here. Yes, it's fine.
Yes, like what's your take on fasting, and what's the take on like energy drink which are available in the market? And if you could recommend like two food or vegetable or nuts or any kind of seeds, like which we should be having or we must have in our day-to-day life, even if we are not able to have our dinner or lunch. So what are the two food or something? So I have these three questions, and if I do have so many questions, but I don't want to take everyone's time here, I would send you some question in your pages and all. Yeah, but if you could give this three answer.
So when it comes to the foods, and I think one that's very underestimated is the leafy greens. So various salads or various other leaves that you eat, whatever locally is available. Those are really, really good and very often neglected in the nutrition. And then the one I personally like, but it's just also like anything that contains unsaturated fatty acids, be it olive oil or being sesame seeds or for example various nuts. So walnuts, cashew nuts, all these contain quite high concentration of unsaturated fatty acids and vitamin E, which is also really good for you. Those are the two things that very often are neglected. And then energy drinks, generally, I would recommend everyone not to drink any energy drinks if possible at all. They are usually full of sugar and components of food that are not necessarily really good for you, that have pushing effects, but a little bit too much and not necessarily healthy on the heart. And then the third question, you asked about fasting. Generally, fasting shows in most studies positive effects. There are people who are not supposed to fast, like people with advanced cancers. But for most people, regular fasting actually has positive effects on body composition and health in general. So regular fasting can reduce the mortality rates through cardiovascular diseases, reduces dementia, improves the body composition, fat degradation, basically, can lower blood pressure, all these different things. So generally, fasting is recommended, but again, not for everyone, for most people. And also what you should consider with fasting is not overdoing it. Up to 1, maximum 2 days without food is okay. After that, you're actually going into starvation, which is a completely different effect on the body.
Actually, Slaven is the expert on fasting, but we decided before the session not to start with this very big topic. But you've written a book about it. Is this translated in English too?
No. Sadly not.
Unfortunately not,
It's not
because
translated.
it's a very good book. I've read it, and it's just about fasting. But maybe you have some articles you've written in English or some one.
Mostly scientific, mostly scientific. I can share it, but they are very, very scientific. Maybe readable, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. So Omar, you have some one question, and Nita, you are holding the female part here now. You are helping me with one question too. So, and then we have to finish. Omar.
Yes, let me make it very quick. We have been talking since long. So it's a personal question. It's related to, like, there are individuals who struggle to gain weight or have a healthy physique, with the especially with the ones who have got high metabolism. So what would you suggest? What are the things they should consume to, like, I am personally, I am the one. I have tried many things, but no way. I am now 21 years old. So I'm gaining no weight. There is no changes. Day by day my health is deteriorating, and I don't know why. And I am trying out many things. So, like, there was a portion in your TED talks. You were saying you have tried out several things, like several things. Then you finally, then you said something. Another thing was, there are certain cosmetic products which claim that there is a FOMO of individuals, that they say that we are missing out. So in that FOMO, they tend to use cosmetic products which claim that they will have an anti-aging or DNA reversal. They claim some those buzzwords. So what are your thoughts on those, and what would you like to say to the individuals who are there, be it boys or girls, in this webinar? Thank you.
The story of the products is a long one, so I won't get into it, but there are many things on the market that don't work and very few things that actually have good effects. If you want to have an anti-aging effect, longevity effect, the best thing is drinking enough water, eating healthy, doing enough exercise, sleeping well, managing your stress. Those are the things that help you the most. Everything else is just an add-on, and most of these things don't even work. So it's marketing and FOMO rather than actual science and actual support behind it. Still a big industry. When it comes to gaining weight, I mean, give it some time. You're only 21, your metabolism might change. But when it comes to gaining weight, usually what helps is muscle building exercises, eating protein before and after training to support the muscle growth, and focusing on muscle building exercises. Once your body starts building up, it will continue, but it needs this kickstart possibly. But I cannot really answer anything without really looking into the genetics and all these kind of things, your nutrition and exercise, and give you exact answer to that. We'd have to go much deeper.
Okay, thank you, Selvi. Thank you for
and
your.
Omar, you have been very well prepared. You've really watched videos of Slaven. Very good. I'm happy.
Thank you.
Nita, what about you? What is your question? Please turn on the camera.
Good evening. So in one of the seminar which was held in our college, I learned that chlorophyll drinks can cure or prevent cancer. So how much effect does it like how much percentage does it affect to a person who is already having cancer? Like at how much percentage does it helps to cure the person, the chlorophyll drinks?
If I understood you correctly, you were talking about drinks that prevent cancer or even cure it. I haven't seen anything that really is being able to show that properly. Anything that's been medically, scientifically well explained, well studied to actually show the effects. Every now and then you can find things that have the so-called placebo effect. So when you're taking something, you believe that it's working, so it starts working because there is even this aspect of our body where it can cure itself. But especially with cancer, especially with oncology, many people are selling many things that are promising a lot, but are usually just marketing. And especially in Europe, we have very, very strong regulations about these things, especially when it comes to prevention. So these things cannot even be sold on the market. In many cases, these things just don't work.
Okay. Okay, good. Tinku, I think you should pose your question then in the written form, because, or is it just tell it? If it's a very short one, maybe Slaven will extend 2 minutes. So what is your question, Tinku? You were raising your hand before.
Oh, my electricity has gone. That's why I was having problem. So my question was that nowadays the farmers are using the medicines in the vegetables and fruits to sell more vegetables and fruits, and they are giving medicine means the vegetables and fruits which can be grown, which are grown in winter season, but they are nowadays they are growing in the summer seasons, and they are selling that type of vegetables. So is it good to have that type of vegetables and fruits now in this time, in this generation? Because nowadays we are using too much of medicines and the pollution is too much high, and our lifespan is growing going too low. So is it good to have that type of fruits and vegetables?
Generally, fruits and vegetables are healthy, although what you're referring to can be an issue if you have too much use of chemicals that end up in the products. You can have accumulation of these chemicals that might be poisonous in your body that then shorten your lifespan. But in general, most people have the issue of not eating enough vegetables and fruits, rather than eating too much and then getting those toxic effects. Controlling for the origin and how good the quality is an important one, not to get poisoned by something that has been artificially grown. But even if plants are being grown faster and therefore have sometimes less nutritional value, they still have a positive effect on the human biology. For example, what we are experiencing in Europe is most of our fruits is imported from other places. When you take, for example, an orange from the tree, the amount of vitamin C in that orange drops by 50% in the first 24 hours after picking the fruit from the tree. And when I go to my supermarket, local one, the fruit has been picked probably 2 weeks ago. It has been picked, put into a truck, brought to the logistics center somewhere in Spain, then it goes to Amsterdam, from Amsterdam to Vienna, then it's somewhere in some inventory until it goes into the supermarket outside, where I buy it after a week or so. So the quality of food we are eating is getting worse, but if you're watching for where it's coming from, you can have that increase in the quality. But regardless, the option is not eating fruits and not eating vegetables, which is worse option than going for what's available.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And now we make a picture before we, people are dropping out. A picture, everybody please put on your cameras, because as every time we want to make one picture showing the whole group. Thank you, Sucho, for calling everybody yesterday, texting, getting everybody here. There are no people absent. Thank you for joining us. And Malis, machst du das Foto? Deine Kamera ist besser. Musst du es auf zweimal? Und du musst runterzählen irgendwie, dass wir alle freundlich lachen.
Okay. I click at 3, okay? So 1, 2, 3. One again, one more. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now the second part, because we have many participants today. So second part, but you don't know where you are, so smile every time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much, Slaven. I know you're very tight schedule that we could have more than 2 hours with you. And Slaven is doing even a charity event here in Vienna. Sucho and Kenna, you are going to join on the 21st of October so that we can collect money donations for the new small girls' home. Thank you also very much for this. And you know all the email address, and you know how to join and to contact him. Thank you very much. I would like you to stay here, you know, if Slaven quits, because I would like to speak with the ones who are in the job life very shortly about your recent experiences. Okay, we share this because I think you can inspire the others by the way you do your job. Okay, Slaven, so
Thank you.
have a good evening. Thank you very much. You did lots for your karma.
Thank you,
It's
guys. See you.
much of good karma, and we've learned a lot. So I'm drinking my coffee not right away now after getting up. I'm waiting 30 minutes at least. Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, if we have 10 more minutes, I think now that we are like this big group, I would like to, Surju and Kenai, you moved now, you have your second job now in another part of Austria. It's like 2 hours away from the Burgenland you've worked before. You're working now at the chocolate company of Josef Zotter. Assad knows him very well because his daughter was, or his wife, I think, was or is your sponsor. We stopped the sponsorship. So what is your, because you've moved there 2 weeks ago, and I think you started to work there now very recently because you had to wait for the work permit for this place. So what are you doing there, and what kind of experiences have you made? You are in the middle of a very green part of Austria. And so can you tell us a little bit?
Well, okay, yeah, we came to this new company, Zotter. The place is very interesting and motivating. You know, every day when you get up in the morning, we have a nice view, which makes you motivating for rest of the day. Then about the walk, yeah, we actually now walking for the Tia Garden. They have a like big zoo, like friendly zoo, and so we maintain the gardens, flowers, and all. Today was our first day. Even
Today was the first day, because when did the work permit come? When did you get it?
actually, we did not yet. I did not yet got it because
Julia.
Julia has it, but she told us that she already received it from the EMS office.
So it was the first day, and you were taking care of the animals, and you were taking care of the plants, and so. But you saw
we were
already the
just walking with the
factory, the
horse
chocolate.
and the pony to shift them through their cattle stables. So
Okay, so this is the experience. So you worked for 3.5 months at the other place. We were a little bit talking last session, but at Erich Stekovic, you worked on the fields, you were harvesting onions and garlic and some others. So what is your learning? Just talking about job life, you know, what is the biggest learning you've made there? Because you had a boss, you had some rules, you had what was necessary?
can I tell first? Then I will.
I see there are people who are very old. Very old means it's really hard to see them still walking. So I feel motivated seeing them walking, and it is like I cannot say that life is means God is doing injustice, because you have to go through hard times, and I am seeing the people. It shows that when you have nothing, you should do what you get. And what more could I add? And it was really hard to see them. They really motivates me, because they were eating under the sun, direct sun, and it is like very hot at the place we were walking. And what I just can tell that, yeah, it really motivates me. And
yeah, now
I'm like it is.
What about you now? I think you had like rules that you had to be fast in doing the harvesting. There was, you know, the boss tells the rules, so you always had some learnings on this, you know, because it was not everything was perfect. So you learned how to adapt. What was the what were the challenges for you?
Yeah, past few days only we got scolding just because we were not 10 minutes earlier than our time. So it was like in Austria, you have to always be like be quick and you have to be early to your job. So this we have learned that we always have to be like punctual, and we also means like I got a like sleep clock, automatic sleep clock. I usually get up at 5. This what means I got from the previous company. Like I get up at very early morning, even if it is Sunday. So it is very like healthy for me because when I was in my college life, I was like sleeping like 1, 2 o'clock. Then I was getting up at very late. So
Oh my God.
so it's really like it has changed, and I'm feeling like really healthy and it's motivating me. And other thing,
Motivating being productive and really
yeah,
the work
like
gives
yes,
you is
when you get
rewarding.
when you get up at early in the morning, then you have like much more amount of time to do extra things which you want to do. Like when you get up late, then you will always complain that don't have time in life.
Mm. So this is also a learning, and also that you had to be like, as you said, on time, and you learned that on time means for the boss not being like punctual on time, but being 10 minutes before. This you have to learn because every boss has his own rules and his own opinion on certain things.
Yes.
Okay, good. So we are very curious then what you are learning about chocolate life. Did you taste many of the chocolates already?
Every day after my lunch or breakfast, like I have this card, so I can enter daily. So I usually enter daily for like tasting, not for every chocolate. Like for after my breakfast, I go and take a little bites. Then after my lunch, I go take a little bites. So it's like just a second or 2 hour canteen.
So it's a good place to work at, I think.
Best one.
Okay, so and who, Asad, you were already telling a little bit, and now you made also you got somehow promoted, I think, in the calculation department. Or you told me that next week the board of the company is coming, and I don't know what the plans for you are, but since what have been your learnings in the last month, 2 months to
Yeah, there was a like a kind of exam and some point of answer questions. So in that time I was successful. They were very happy about my performance. So now they have in like a promotion, they have given me a responsibility for the 3 branches, Argentina, for my branch plus another branch in Romania to make the production and the statistic report. And also there are some requests from Vienna office. I have to make the like the in our technical term we call the NAC calculation. We have the overall of the view, the income, profit, outgoing, what is everything related, everything I have to take responsibility, and there are very much highly giving me this responsibility, and I'm performing well very nicely. From last month I've started, and this is the end of the month. So again I have to make a closing of the month, again the opening of the month, and I'm doing pretty well.
And you think that you will come to Vienna, to the Viennese office?
Yeah, because I got the at least confirmation from the new CEO, Jorgen, and he also informed me by email, and he also wrote to my secretary, office secretary, that we are going to make a meeting with the manager and some board members, including Bogdan Nicola, and they are going to make more future what with me, and they really wants me to work with them and make a very long journey with them, and I'm very happy about this.
As you told before, also when we are speaking to Slaven, your way is showing that you have to be flexible in life because you were going to this polytechnical college, and then now you're working in a different field, and you could cope with it. This is also important, because it was a chance and you grabbed it.
Yes, and it was like also like a dream to sit in an office and work with a desktop, laptop, rather than going to the field, making some repairing and all these things.
Okay, fine. And Jagat, what about you? What is the situation? And I just want, if you want to Just thanks, Slaven. You can either write something in the chat. I will make a picture of this, or you. He was telling he's on Instagram, or you write an email. But it would be nice to have some feedback, because I know that usually he has a very tough day, and it was not easy to get these 2 hours. So maybe Somnat was already posting a comment, and Oma. So you can just put something in the chat. I will make pictures. I will send it to him, or you text him then on some other ways, social media or wherever. Okay, but Chagat, so what about you?
1 month back, I had a meeting with IT department head, and we were discussing about what we will be working upon. So what I have to study, and he told me that after October we will have another meeting. And about work permit, the HR told me that at the end of October I will get my work permit. Means she will get it at the end of October, and then she will send me. Maybe it will take more 15 days to get.
So it still will take some time till you are leaving for Romania.
Then if I apply for visa, it will take, I think, more than 1 or 2 months.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it was a long time of waiting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Around more than means 200 days. We are working on about all this paperwork. Because I have started learning this Romanian, so it is showing 145 days. So
Okay, so you are already firm in Romanian. Did you learn a lot?
lots. Means I have a copy. Means I'm practicing in that app, Duolingo.
Gut. Wollen wir noch irgendjemanden was fragen, Malis?
You are in Romania?
Yeah.
You did not know, Sanat?
No.
What about
never
you?
told, is in...
What about you?
Where?
What about
I'm
your
good.
studies? You are doing your PhD now, or what is?
No, MLIs. I'm planning to do. I'm
okay.
preparing myself. I'm studying.
I see. And you're still taking care of the VTC boys.
I'm joined the new school also, St. Ignatius High School.
Okay. I see.
Nearby. Affiliated
Proval
school.
sir. This colleague is Proval sir.
Android.
What?
The vice principal, Proval, and something, or he was there in Nalanda Vidyapit. Now he is colleague.
He left Nalanda Vidyapit, Probal, and now he's in a different school?
Yeah, he is with Sanat in the same school.
Both are the same teacher in the same school.
You're also teacher. Yes.
The last vice principal.
Okay. I didn't know. Hast du es gewusst, Malis? Oh. Okay. But you're still a warden also. You are the warden in the VTC dormitory or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You want to see the boys?
Yes, please. Where are they?
Hey, everyone come. Hey, wow. Everyone come.
Hi.
Hi.
They're already sleeping. It's late, isn't it? Fine.
No,
We are
not
fine.
late. Tomorrow school is holiday. They were studying. Exam is going on.
So
Exam
they
is
were
going
studying.
on. Now, no, this boys exam over. Senior are studying, junior exam over. Today was the last day. And tomorrow is holiday, 2nd October. Gandhi Jayanti.
Okay, so nobody's sleeping. They're making party.
No party, no. They will sleep. They have senior boys. I call them.
Okay, good.
This is a new boy, Yusuf. Before
Okay.
he was at...
Keyboard in there.
Yusuf kennen wir schon.
Kennen wir schon?
Ja.
Haben wir schon Patenschaft für
Ja, klar, den hat die Christine weitergenommen.
Okay.
Malis, is there any plan ZUKI is visiting in November this year?
No, we will come on
Ja,
5th
ja,
of
go.
February next year.
Because many are writing me and asking me because they said that they came to know that the ZUKI team is coming in November. I say I didn't heard
No,
about it.
no. We only collect the letters now, but via email.
We are sending them online. Yes. Because we switched our schedule.
But we booked already the flights for February.
Okay. Good. Okay, then we.
Eva will join. And Birgit, and I don't know if Vanessa is still here. Many are coming, more than 20.
A very big group in February.
Yeah.
Big, many people.
Big group, yes.
So many children will be happy.
Many
The others
aunties
will
and
cry.
uncles.
Then do you think their father should book the whole bus? By the bus we are
Yes,
going to
we need a
shopping?
bus. Yes. Walter told already we need a bus to be taken at the airport.
It's true. Yeah. Okay, so I think we are finished, oder? Malis? Ja,
Ja,
oder?
würde ich sagen, ja. Muss
Weil
die
ich mein,
Generalversammlung vorbereiten.
ja, weil diese Hausaufgabe, die der Slaven gegeben hat, aber ich glaube, die hat man nicht verstanden. Das war eher was Privates, oder? Dass
Ich
man
glaube,
diese,
es ist persönlich, weil das sind
ja,
etwas
zu persönlich, ja,
Ja,
das
ja,
kann man nicht, ja.
আরেকটা
Vielleicht,
বুঝতে just comment করে দিছে একটু
excuse me? Does somebody understand our German speaking already?
That's what Ajad is saying. Those who understand, please explain.
in a comment.
You have to study harder to understand what we are saying, but
You
we
are very fast.
would prefer that we can speak in secret. Still. Okay, good. It was good having you. It was interesting because I was discussing with Slavin about his topic, and he said, he doesn't want to go so much into food and nutrition. He doesn't know about your possibilities to get what he would recommend. But then after his keynote, everybody was interested in food and exercise. So yeah, and he's the big expert on this. But I will see if I find some. I will see. Oma, you were watching videos of him talking in English. Did you find some?
Yes, in TEDx.
The TEDx. He was doing a TED talk.
I got it
okay.
from LinkedIn. I got it from LinkedIn, then I searched it in YouTube, and then I
Maybe
watched.
you can share it in our empowerment group, because he was talking about longevity, longer life, and what is.
Yes, 15 minutes. It's a video of 15 minutes, and he has got many other videos with other YouTubers and all. So, but the main thing was about the one in the TEDx.
Okay,
TED Talk
good.
was the best one.
So you are a brilliant example of how to prepare for a session, because it's of course very good to know the keynote speaker, and then having precise questions. So next time we will expect everybody to do this. Okay, but it was very good having so many here. So we say bye-bye from Vienna. And
Bye-bye
yes,
from
we have our
Romania.
General Assembly on the 14th. Sollen wir alle einladen? Sollen die dabei sein? Aber es ist Deutsch, oder?
Es ist Deutsch, aber Sie können, wenn Sie wollen, können Sie trotzdem schauen.
We will put also the link. We have on the 14th of October, we have the General Assembly. This means that many sponsors are joining us on Zoom, and Malis, who is very brave, is doing the presentation of what happened in the ZUKI this year. And we will ask some of you also to just tell about it. So, but if we will put the link also in the empowering group, everybody can join. But of course, it's mainly in English, in German. In German, yes. But the ones
we will make some interviews with pupils of the group. So
yes,
part of it is in English.
So some will be the testimonials of our success stories. If somebody is interested to do this, please text. You can text me. Then because yes, please, because it's not us that we have some people in mind. But
Jogod.
Yeah, Jagat, of
last
course,
time
he
I
will
was
be
there.
there. He was last time. It's true,
but now he's in Romania. He will do.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But he's selected.
Next time.
This is interested to get the process, to learn about the process. Yes. We will.
Then he's lying. He's telling me he's in Romania.
Not now. We were talking about, you are? No. Yes.
But he told me he's in Romania.
He's in the airport. He needs to take the next flight to Romania. He's already in the airport.
See, they are laughing. They're making fun.
Whoever wants to talk to our sponsors, you are free to do so. You just give us a message about your success story and your achievements, also with the help of ZUKI. Okay, this is on the 14th of October. We will put the link into our empowerment group. Whoever wants to join, you can do so, because
But
for
it's
us,
very
of course,
late. For you, it's very late because we started in the evening only at our time. So it's
2 o'clock, I think.
10:30 or 10:30 p.m. your time.
Yes, that's true. So let's see. Okay, and then we will find another guest speaker. So good. So have a good evening, and we say bye-bye from Austria. Bye-bye.
Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss.
Tschüss, auf Wiedersehen, bis bald.